proven true for some. Veteran Mark Smith has joined forces with Frank Archero to run an IndyCar next year. Indy Lights rookie sensation Adrian Fernandez will be doing the same with Gallus Racing. Both Frank Freon and Brian Herta have announced that they will join new Indy Lights teams in 1993, teams that have announced IndyCar plans for 94. Other veterans sustain the hope that their break is on the horizon. Today, they have a final opportunity to make an impression. Stay tuned as PPG presents the Firestone Indy Lights Championship, powered by Buick. Sunbathed Laguna Seca Raceway, just a few miles east of the famous Monterey Peninsula of Northern California. And today, site of the final round of the 1992 Firestone Indy Lights Championship. Hi, everybody. I'm Chris McClure. Welcome to Laguna Seca in the final race of 1992. You know, a lot of important questions are already answered. The series has its champion. That man is Robbie Buell. He clinched it with victory at Nazareth. Frank Freon will finish second. But third through fifth is still up for grabs, and so is the Rookie of the Year award. Those issues will be solved on the racetrack momentarily. But there is more. Joining us once again, our road racing analyst, Derek Daly. And Derek, I've outlined the obvious, but there are some subtle strokes at work.
Well, that's right. Every time some of these young, hopeful stars of the future take to the racetrack, they hope to be able to display their talents and their wares and maybe catch the eye of somebody who can help them make that next critical step in their career. Well, they only have one more opportunity this year before the winter sets in. It can be a long and lonely winter if you don't have a contract already sorted out. So the platform exists this afternoon for these drivers again to display their talents, hoping to catch that all-important eye.
And one man who's been making a late-season statement is on the pole. Robbie Groff stands by with our Gary Gerald.
Well, it's been a struggle through this season, and we've been through the emotions with Robbie Groff in an up-and-down year, a lot of crashes, finally the victory and the jubilation in Mid-Ohio. Now for the first time on the pole in this last race. Do you look at this as an opportunity to really try to impress people and show off your driving skills?
Yeah, I think that, like my coach once said, that if you're going to win two races, you win the first one, you win the last one. We finished second at Phoenix, and I think we're in good stead to win today because we're starting on the pole. But it certainly is nice to go out after, if you were able to win a race. So I'm pretty happy to be starting on the pole.
We wish you well. Chris?
Thanks, Gary. The weather around Laguna Seca is simply beautiful. A high, fleecy cloud cover, but mostly warm, mostly sunny. A perfect day to close the season. And now, let's take a look at the grid. On the pole, we met him a moment ago, Robbie Groff, who comes into Laguna with 4 career victories. On the outside of the row, he can still win Rookie of the Year honor, Brian Herta. In row number 2 on the inside, last year's Rookie of the Year, Frank Freon. And a man who's won 4 races this year, Adrian Fernandez, on the outside of the row. Row number 3 on the inside, he likes this course. It's David Kudrave from La Cañada, California. On the outside of the row with 3 career victories, number 7, Mark Smith. Row number 4 on the inside is the 92 Lights champion, Robbie Buell. On the outside in his first Indy Lights race, Mario Dominguez from Mexico City. In row number 5 from Sweden, Friedrich Ekblom. And on the outside of the row, the veteran from Denver, Colorado, Mike Snow. Inside of row number 6, 3-time Formula One motorcycle champion Eddie Lawson making his debut in the Lights Series. Outside of him, another promising rookie in 92, Sandy Brody. Row number 7 on the inside, another motorcycle veteran, 7-time AMA champion Jeff Ward, and a former IMSA champion on the outside of the row, Scott Schubert. In row number 8, Philippe Favre in his 3rd race in the late going of 92. On the outside of the row, the Saab champion, Robert Amron. In row number 9 on the inside is Bob Doricott, Jr. from Sunnyvale, California, and George Sutcliffe from Odessa, Florida. And in row number 10, Mark Ritchie from Indianapolis, Indiana, and Rick Hill from Los Angeles, California. The car's now moving on the course, and Derek Daly with 11 turns and elevation changes. It's a difficult place.
And a great mixture here of slow, medium, and high-speed corners. The elevation changes are a very unique feature here at Laguna Seca. And, of course, the corkscrew, one of the most famous corners in all of racing.
They tighten up the field, Derek Daly. It's a climb up to the start-finish line. Jim Swintel looking over the field. We'll see if he turns them loose. And he does. We are racing. racing at Laguna Seca, the finale for 1992. Turn 1, always tricky. See Buell swinging to the outside. There's been some contact in there. Kudrave and Smith touched, and a piece of bodywork at least came loose, Derek Daly. But everyone can know Mark Smith has spun around and now will join the pack at the back.
And it's so tight down there into the first corner. Under heavy braking, Kudrave was on the inside, actually went down across the dirt, and then he made contact with Mark Smith. We saw parts of Mark Smith's car fly off across the racetrack. We're inside now with Robbie Buell. This is the long uphill run into a very fast left-hander, and then right here, now the continuing hill all the way up.
On board we are with Robbie Buell. The leading edge entry, Mark Wida prepared entry along with Burke Harrison, the chief mechanic. And now they approach the corkscrew for the first time in anger.
And that's Fernandez right in front of him. Fernandez running in 4th place, so Buell is going to give Fernandez all the trouble he needs. Fernandez again fighting handling all weekend. One session he was fast, next session he was slow. Oh, Buell goes down the inside.
He's going to try and take Fernandez. They almost interlock wheels, and he completes it to the inside in that tight left-hander that is turn 11. And here comes David Kudrave. He's attacking Adrian Fernandez as well.
And Kudrave took the advantage of Fernandez having to back off, because if he didn't back off for Buell, there was going to be contact. Kudrave saw what was going on, positioned himself perfectly, and came out with more power.
Robbie Buell picking up a position on Adrian Fernandez in that 11th turn a moment ago.
Under heavy braking. Now look at this. Fernandez sees him. Look, he pulls away. Now Buell moves over. Fernandez has to give him room, and he rightly did so, or else there would definitely have been contact between those two cars.
And in the pits is number 7, Mark Smith, and perhaps a little postscript to what has been a star-crossed season for him.
Back with a teammate. This is a real fight here for 2nd place.
Coming down to the hard left-hander, Freon still looking at the back of Brian Herta's car. Joining the serial, that is Robbie Buell. He came from 7th on the grid. He's now running in the 4th spot. So the leader is Robbie Groff. He comes from pole. Then Herta, Freon, Buell, and Kudrave rounding out the top 5. We're at Laguna Seca. We'll be back. Continue in the early going of this final event of 1992. This is turn number 11. Number 3 is 3rd place, Frank Freon. Number 4 is 4th place, Robbie Buell. This has turned into a hotter battle than the one a moment ago for 2nd position, as Freon has to defend his spot against a rather aggressive Robbie Buell, who has already captured the championship for this year, and really right now, Derek, is seeking his 12th consecutive podium finish. And Bob Doricott Jr. has gotten tangled up out there with George Sutcliffe. There has been contact on board with Doricott. We see he's able to turn around and continue right in turn number 11.
Easy up and easy off, but unfortunately there was more than easy contact, because both cars were stalled on the racetrack. There's a set of front wings. He's still blocking the racetrack, and they are probably the wings off Bob Doricott's car.
So the battle up front, a half track away, continues. Now, let's go back a moment. Bob Doricott getting tangled up with George Sutcliffe.
Oh, so Doricott's in the lead. This is the downhill run to turn 10. It's a very fast right-hander. Now, remember, George Sutcliffe is behind him at the moment, so he's going to try and come down the inside under braking. Watch for the contact. There it is, right there. Oh, heavy contact. George Sutcliffe, there's the front wings off Doricott's car, so that will definitely necessitate a pit stop.
And there you see the race leader, Robbie Groff, averaging just over 95 miles an hour, and Brian Herta in tow. Here comes Freon down to the inside. They're side by side approaching the corkscrew, nearly touched tires, and Herta yields the position. He let Freon go there.
Oh, difficult situation there. He got inside. You saw Herta stayed with him, playing chicken there, but obviously Freon had the inside. Herta knew that, gave it up, and got back into position. But Frank Freon definitely in attack mode here.
He's in 2nd place. Herta runs 3rd. Buell continues to run in 4th, and Buell's immediate target is different now. It is the yellow car that belongs to Brian Herta, who is still in the Rookie of the Year chase with Adrian Fernandez running in 6th. Fernandez would claim that crown if he finishes in 6th, but we've seen him passed a couple of times already. Let's go back on board with the champion, Robbie Buell.
This is down in turn 2, a double apex left-hander. He gets on the power, short run, 1 gear change. And he Changes back down again. This is a critical right-hander right here. See his head bob and weave around a very fast 120-mile-an-hour corner. Oh, look at the action ahead of him.
And Freon and Herta rejoin the battle. Herta trying to move up and pass Freon and get second place back. Now they're climbing the hill. The assault did not work that time, but now they're coming up to the area, Derek, where Freon got by Herta, but looks like it's spaced out too much now for an attack by Brian Herta.
Now we're back inside with Robbie Buell. He had a great view of what went on. Now Buell tries to come down the inside. Watch the drop here. Big drop down there to the downside. Now this is a complete downhill run here. It gets faster and faster the longer it goes. Look at Buell use all those corrections. Changes gear, goes even faster. This is his favorite out-braking maneuver here. Watch him close up under, up to Herta. Look at that, right up behind him.
Front straightaway once again. There you see what is essentially a three-car battle for second place with Freon, Herta, and Buell in a very short train, and they are all chasing Robbie Groff, who has just ran the fastest lap of the race at 96 miles an hour. He was beginning to feel some pressure at his back, Derek, and he answered it.
He did answer it. He has been the fastest man and the fastest combination here. Here he is, Robbie Groff, all weekend. Very comfortable with the car, likes the racetrack here, has had a very mixed season. Many people thought he would be one of the stars, but he had a horrendous luck during the year with crashes that weren't all his fault. But they came back and built this brand new car, very well-run small family team. But Robbie Groff really paying back the mechanics for the efforts they have put in, and they have been considerable efforts.
So Robbie Groff with the fastest race lap leads it, then Freon, Herta, Buell, and Kudrave. The top five remains fairly steady. We'll be back to Laguna Seca in a moment. Seca, Chris McClure along with Derek Daly. Robbie Groff continues to lead. Sandy Brody currently running in 8th position under heavy attack right now from the rookie Friedrich Ekblom, who's just in his second Indy Lights race. That's a good battle. And joining in the number 8 car, you just see them a few car lengths behind. There he is. That's Steady Eddie Lawson, the Formula One motorcycle champion.
And such a famous name Eddie Lawson is around the world for his efforts on motor. Oh, Ekblom goes down the inside.
He has the position, so Friedrich Ekblom picks up 8th position from Sandy Brody.
And they're still in line, but we mentioned Lawson, such a famous man around the world for his efforts on motorcycles, now trying to make a new career for himself on 4 wheels instead of 2. But Ekblom, we saw him earlier at Mid-Ohio in a sensational debut when he actually finishes 2nd.
So we ride along with Robbie Buell, and also on board with Buell a lot of rather sophisticated medical research equipment. It's all part of an important ongoing project. With more, here's Gary Gerald.
Monitoring the handling and the performance characteristics of these race cars has become a common and essential daily practice. The information that is gained is invaluable in getting the maximum performance out of these cars. But what about the human entity that sits here in the cockpit behind the wheel? How can we obtain information about his condition that will provide feedback to enhance his efforts? The Biomedical Science Department of General Motors, in conjunction with Robbie Buell's team, carried out a year-long program to answer some of these questions.
What we hope to do with the data that we're generating with Robbie is to understand what kind of stress levels the drivers are experiencing. We have some temperature probes or thermistors in the car that measure temperature. And then on Robbie, we have a lead that's taped to him that measures body temperature, and then a 3-lead electrocardiogram, which gives us heart rate. And this is all logged in and stored on a data logger that's on the car that we can then download to a computer to generate graphs and plots. And we're looking at how the track affects them. We've seen Robbie go, his heart rate goes way up in S's, and it drops down in a straightaway, and you can see that they're under different types of stress in different parts of the track. And ultimately, this will lead to, I think, enhancing driver performance and enhancing driver safety, which is the thing that we're most interested in.
It's also interesting to note that Robbie's heart rate hit a race-high 180 beats per minute as he crossed the finish line at Nazareth, winning the race and, of course, capturing the Firestone Indy Lights Championship.
And here's a fellow who may have an accelerated heart rate of his own at the moment in an Indy Light car racing for the first time. It's Mario Dominguez behind the wheel at the number 2 Lanford entry. Pretty talented guy. He's the Russell Mazda points leader for this year. Now, let's go back up front. It's still led by Robbie Groff, followed closely by Frank Freon and Brian Herta. They've been locked in that three-car serial for some time now. Robbie Groff from pole position continues to lead. Let's take a look at the entire field with our Buick mid-race update. Groff the leader, then Freon and Herta. Fourth place belongs to Robbie Buell, the season champion. David Coudrave runs fifth. Adrian Fernandez is sixth, then Snow, Dominguez, Ekblom, and Brody. 11th place to Philippe Favre, then Ward, Schubert, Amron, and Hill to round out the top 15. Lawson, Doricott, Sutcliffe, Ritchie, and Smith finish the field. The battle for second rages on. Frank Freon still holding off Brian Herta. Herta just trying to find a proper space and a place to get a good run and see if he can get down inside or outside. David Coudrave, who was running in fifth just a little while ago, is in the pits and slipping badly in the standings. Freon and Herta, the best battle on the racetrack, separated by just a few car lengths, never more than a half second. Now, Derek, there are a couple of fellows right there that are on parallel career paths. Herta has signed a deal with the veteran open-wheel chief mechanic and car owner Steve Horn to race lights in '93, Indy cars in '94, and just this weekend here at Laguna Seca, Freon confirmed plans to join John Martin for '93 in the Indy lights and then go to Indy cars in 1994.
And very much a dream situation for Brian Herta, who has been so good this year and is only his first year in Indy lights, but a dream situation to come under the guiding hand of Steve Horn, who knows how to get the best out of drivers, mechanics, and a racing car. Something he can very much look forward to the next couple of years with Steve Horn.
And back on the front straightaway, completing another lap, Bob Doricott Jr., who had contact and fell way back earlier on. He runs currently in 15th position.
Yeah, Bob Doricott was definitely mugged earlier by George Sutcliffe. Had to make a pit stop. Now he's back well on his way. We didn't see Bob every time this year. He's done a lot of these Sports 2000 racing very, very successfully, but does like these Indy Lights cars, and I know would like to do a full season next year.
Meantime, the 31 car, that's Jeff Ward, a 7-time AMA motorcycle champion, trying it with four wheels.
Another big, big name from the world of motorcycling coming onto four wheels instead of two. He's only 31 years old, but he said, nah, he's too old now for motocross to continue. Wants to move and make a new career for himself on four wheels. Running with PIG. They have an IndyCar program also. You'll recognize the color schemes. Run by Norm Turley, Purcell Investment Group.
And Jeff Ward right now running in 7th position. Good run for him. We switch back up front. Don't be fooled. That is not the Ward car. That is the race leader, number 5. It is Robbie Groff. Second place still belongs to Frank Freon and then Brian Herta. The 4th car in the serial, Sandy Brody, is a lap down. We'll be back. We're back at Laguna Seca. Robbie Groff trying to hold on now for his second victory of the 1992 Firestone Indy Lights season. But first through third, separated by 1.5 seconds. So the battle is not yet resolved with about 3 miles of racing left. There you see Frank Freon in the blue, number 3, holding on to second, under attack as he has been through almost the entire event from Brian Herta. Herta in turn number 11, closer than he's been for several laps. Can he pull up to him on the straightaway? This, Derek Daly, is where he's had an advantage. Frank Freon, that is.
Under heavy braking, Herta definitely closes up, but he's not able to get close enough. But Groff has been under pressure for the whole race, but really has maintained his poise and has not made a mistake. So far, Groff has had a dream weekend because he was fastest in almost every session and in the morning warm-up.
He's also run the quickest lap in the race at 97.4 miles an hour. Groff leads by about 1 second. There you see the space on the racetrack. Then Freon and Herta. Herta's been trying to get second place back almost the entire way, and they're climbing up the hill, overtaking Favre as they come to the top of the race course.
Philippe Favre is the traffic right ahead of him. That's the 3rd Lanford car. Teammates to these 2 cars here, but I don't think, well, he shouldn't play a part, but look at Herta again under heavy braking right up under the rear wing of Frank Freon.
He's got to make his move now. It's only a half lap from on the finish. Robbie Groff first, Freon second, and Herta in the third position. And that may just be the way it is resolved. Coming down to turn number 11, the hard left-hander, and the final turn in the event. There you see Groff right behind Bob. He's through there. Herta moves down to the inside now. It's a drag race up the hill. Can Herta take second? Yes, he does. At the very last instant, in the very last turn, Brian Herta steals second away. This is the champion. Let's finish his season on board with Robbie Buell.
He was fast, consistent, reliable, and he managed to win a race.
Up the straightaway, the checkered flag just to the left, the wave to Jim Swintel from the 1992 champion, Robbie Buell. The winner of the race, Robbie Groff.
This is what happened here. Herta sets up Freon perfectly here. Freon breaks too late. Herta's on the outside. He's on the outside. He turns in tight, comes under Freon, and he's on the power earlier. Look at him in the drag race. He pulls it off. Great move by Brian Herta.
And so that changes the standings on the podium. Groff the winner wire to wire. Then Brian Herta, Frank Freon, Robbie Buell fourth, and Adrian Fernandez in the fifth spot. Sixth goes to Friedrich Eklund, then Jeff Ward, Philippe Favre, and Robert Amron. Scott Schubat came 10th. Hill, Doricott, Sutcliffe, Brody, and Snow, the next 5, followed by David Kudrave, Dominguez, Lawson, Mark Ritchie, and Mark Smith. Now let's go to the victory circle, and a very happy young man with our Gary Gerald.
Well, Robbie Groff is here, and I'll tell you what, this was one of those days when the pursuit was relentless. You could not make a mistake anywhere today, and here you are in victory lane.
That's right, Gary. Thanks. The Bullet General Wildcat just ran great all day. It was just as good from the start as it was at the finish, and my crew did a great job, and I rewarded them with the win, and I'm just really thankful. Yeah, the pressure was pretty relentless, and I just had to keep as cool as possible. I came close a couple of times to maybe like throwing it all away. Actually, just once, but I just glad the car was with me, and actually things were maybe a little smoother than they appeared.
Well, it's a nice sense of momentum to take into your IndyCar test, which is right around the corner, and of course our best wishes go along with that in for 1993.
Thanks, Gary.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Chris?
Thanks, Gary Gerald, and once again, congratulations to Robbie Groff for his victory. Now, the points for the year, 1st through 5th, the totals change, the positions do not. Buell is, of course, the champion, and will pick up the bonus of $20,000 plus the Buick GS Skylark automobile. The Rookie of the Year chase, Adrian Fernandez, firms that up and cements it away with 5th place here at Laguna Seca. He will get the $10,000 bonus. 2nd place, Brian Herta, will pick up $5,000 additional. So the 1992 Firestone Indy Lights season draws to a close, and congratulations once again to the champion, Robbie Buell. You know, Derek, it's been an exciting year, a good points battle for the championship, and I think at the end of the year, a huge momentum for this series beginning to build.
That's right. There is more interest and more momentum now within this series on a worldwide basis, not just national, than there ever was in the past. New cars, very technically advanced cars, will be used next year. And I think, once again, it has proven to be the training ground for future IndyCar stars.
Thanks for being with us all year. I've enjoyed it thoroughly.
It was good fun. Thanks.
And thanks to all of you for joining us for 1992. We hope you enjoyed it. See you again next year. On behalf of Gary Gerald and my colleague in the booth, Derek Daly, I'm Chris McClure. So long, everybody.